taking the time out of your busy day to speak with me. I shared with you my heart as to why we're doing this forum on Monday. I'm going to have 8 police officers join me via social media, and they're going to talk about just the trauma that they experience day to day. Some of them are retired, some of them are active. I wanted a diverse panel, right? Men, women, different cultures, different experiences. So I really appreciate you joining me today. Now, you already shared with me, but I want you just to share with our viewers again, just your name, your position, and how long you've been on the force.
My name is Deputy Andre Morell, and I'm with Campbell County Sheriff's Office, and I've been with the Sheriff's Office since January 1st of 2019, and been a certified officer, meaning I've completed my training just a little over 2.5 years.
Okay, thank you. So we're talking about PTSD in police officers, and again, just the trauma that you guys face or can face, on a day-to-day basis. When someone calls 911, of course, you're the first one on the scene. So again, you could be faced with the psychotic episode, right? And not necessarily trained on how to de-escalate that. You could be called on a scene where there's domestic violence and not sure what you're going to be walking, into. So just those two things within, themselves are just so traumatic, and can be, traumatic. I have heard, officers talk about, experiencing these traumatic events, Andre, and then going to work the next day as if nothing ever happened. So I have a few questions for you in regard to that. So how do you decompress after being involved in a difficult call or traumatic call?
Oftentimes, honestly, you don't really have time to decompress.
Wow.
We're going from one call for service to the next call for service. And it can be just, the calls can be night and day in regards to what they're dealing with. Honestly, I smoke and I'll smoke a cigarette after a call on my way to the next one. That's probably the closest answer I can give you, because a lot of times you're just, you can come from a DOA call, and then you're going straight to a juvenile problems call or domestic call, something else that's going on, or a lost person, and you don't have that time. All you have is the drive it takes you to get from one location to the next locale. And so you're really kind of carrying it with you all day, and you're trying to decompartmentalize it, and for me, advantage that I know that I have, that I know that some of the brothers and sisters that I work with don't have, is I believe I have a strong relationship with my Savior. And so everything I'm doing all day long, I'm praying for God to be part of, and to protect me, to speak through me. I'm praying to be used all day long and just be a tool in whatever He has me show up in. And my goal is to be a light in somebody's darkest day,
Yeah,
but
that's good.
As far as time to decompress or any kind of breathing exercise or anything like that, it's just not happening.
Wow. So yeah, and you know what? That's another good point, though, right? So one call to the next. So you're finishing up with this traumatic event, and then you're immediately going to the next call. So you kind of answered my second question about just refocusing, because it sounds like your focus is on God, and you're kind of leaning in on Him to help, guide your day and your thoughts. So I love how you phrase that.
Yeah, and we're trying to, and then part of that, the call notes are coming up, and a lot of the calls that you're going to, obviously with just very minimal information. You're getting names, you're getting just what one party is giving to dispatch. Right. So you're just getting that one person's perspective, no matter what role they may play. And sometimes it's a third party call from a neighbor in an apartment building. And, so in your mind to kind of leave the call you just left behind you, even though you probably needed some time to process and decompress. You're already running through scenarios with just the very little bit of information that you have of, okay, how am I going to approach this? If you're familiar with the address or location that you're going to, where am I going to park? These things all make a difference. But so but you're, it's terrible to say, but you're running your worst case scenarios through your head to try to get your mind and body ready for, how am I going to react? What's going to come out of my mouth? How am I going to move? How am I going to position myself? Which way am I going to walk around the facility that I'm arriving at?
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of things going through your mind in that little bit of time. And a lot of time, I mean, you're getting somewhere just as fast as you can, with due regard for public safety, as safely as you can. But your mind is really trying to focus on what you're getting ready to step into.
Right. Wow. I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. So again, back-to-back calls, you're trying to be proactive in your thinking and your thoughts about what you might, experience, right, during this phone call, trying to prepare yourself mentally. How do you, Andre, when it comes to your family life? So how do you separate work? So at the end of the day, you take on your last call, and now I need to kind of transition to my home life. How do you separate the two?
I try to leave a lot of it in the car. But what's great for me is I have in my wife such a strong support system at home that I'm thinking about things where I better come over and talk to her about. But if I don't share, it's just going to eat me up.
Right.
Whether it may have been a death or just a conversation or just conditions that I had to see, whatever it was, knowing that I can only do so much, I can only do what code or law allows. And it's not built for me to be able to do a whole lot for people, to help them, and to be honest, in a lot of ways. But I don't keep them separated, to be honest with you. But again, I got into this profession a little bit later in age, a lot of life experience. I was 46 years old when I went to the academy. Been married to my best friend since 1993. We've got, our 26-year-old son is out of the house, so it's not like, I'm getting sleep deprived because I've got 4 kids running around the house, and and I got a wife that I've got to worry about because, I don't know a woman with a strong relationship with the Lord in the world than she does. So I know everything she's doing is just for the prosper of the kingdom. So
Yeah.
it's great for me to just, let it all out. And I know she is strong enough to handle it. I mean, the mundane stuff, but the times, the things that I know are going to eat me up, I just honestly, without going into too much detail, I will share with my wife at the end of the day.
Yeah. But it's good that you both have that foundation in the Lord. And you're right.
Exactly.
I don't listen, I love your wife and her faith. She definitely lives it out loud. So I know that she knows how to channel when you do share, right? She knows how to give it to God. I know she's praying for you, Andre. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt. So I think that helps, because sometimes what happens is the spouses take on like what we call secondary trauma. So when they hear their spouses talk about what they have gone through, and you don't have your faith set in the Lord, sometimes they go through like secondary, trauma. So I'm glad that you have that, support system in your wife, because you definitely need that.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
definitely need that with what you do. Well, you already talked a little bit about, starting this profession at a later age. So what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to do this now, at this age?
Well, honestly, as long as I can remember, I always wanted to get into law enforcement. It was what I wanted to do. It was when I graduated high school, the reason I joined the United States Marine Corps and did what I was, did all that training and went through that was to get into law enforcement. But God had other plans and led me down a different path. I got married, obviously I got married while I was in the Marine Corps. And when we moved back to Virginia, I'm born and raised in Oakland, California.
Okay.
And so not that law enforcement out there makes a huge amount of money for, especially for what they do on a daily basis and what they have to live through. But they do a little bit better. And so, I had that plan. But when we moved back to Virginia, in 1997, it was even worse than what it is now. And as a matter of fact, I got a job driving a truck for Grand Piano.
Wow.
Delivering furniture, making more money than I would have made trying to become a state trooper at the time.
Wow.
And had I gone through with the process of being a state trooper, then they send you at that time, they send you where they want you in the state. You don't, you get stationed somewhere in the state. So honestly, I started chasing a paycheck, worried more about what I wanted to do and felt like I needed to do. My priority was providing for my family, and not doing that. And then, I was pretty successful in the career paths that I took, and led me to a really good job, a really good career with a really good company, and rose up to salaried management and was doing that. And then it was a good job again, and very comfortable, but I just was not, I was empty, and so many things. I kept just getting all these signs, and I'm going to say, people can say what they want, but it was the Holy Spirit telling me, just kept telling me, Dre, you're coming up on this age. If you're going to do it, you need to do it now. And then I would read an article about how short-handed they were, or the problems going on in the community. And I just, Charlene and I were to a point where Michael was out of the house financially. The house was paid off, cars were paid off. You don't have the excuse of chasing a paycheck no more, Andre. You're going to do this. And I remember the last day I was just like, the opportunity to come up, and the offer was out there. And then I was praying about, should I do this, God? If I'm going to do this, you got to show me a real strong sign. And I was traveling down 29 South here in the area where we live, down in the south part of the county. I was heading down to meet up with one of my employees down in Danville. And I came around the corner, and there was 2 Campbell County deputy cars parked right there at Perky's restaurant right after I finished saying that prayer. Pointed out the road, I said, all right, God, there it is.
Wow.
And the rest is just kind of history. But so I went through there, I left what I was doing, went into this, and I can't tell you, I have been, there's bad days, there's days that rip your heart out of your chest, but I have been so fulfilled to know that I feel like I am doing what God designed me to do. And then at the end of the day, or even the end of a call, so many calls I can walk away from and I feel it was all there. It wasn't me, but exactly what he wanted to happen. And the Holy Spirit, exactly what I prayed to work through me, worked through me. I was able to make a connection. I was able to empathize with these people and make that connection and validate them, make them feel heard, where they thought for sure that they were just, I'm a larger gentleman. I'm 6'3", I'm 280 pounds. I spend a lot of time in the gym, and my wife feeds me well. So, a lot of people, they see me and they make their own determinations about what they see when they see me walk through. You know, they see, here's this big, bald, white guy walking in, right? And they make their own assumptions. And then sometimes I got to spend several minutes just trying to break down walls. People have no idea that I'm actually the direct descendant of an immigrant. My father came to the United States in 1966. English is my second language. You know, I'm born and raised in Oakland, California. I didn't experience racism until I moved to Virginia.
Wow.
You know, but it's funny because you're dealing with that, and so a lot of times you got to deal with that. But people make these assumptions, and people who have had obviously who've had negative contact with law enforcement in the past, they have all these prejudgments as well when you're walking in the door. And but when you can walk away and you know the connection is just made, and you know, whether it be they lost a parent, they lost a child, somebody's missing, they feel heard. I make sure I make them feel heard and validated, you know, and both parties. Because a lot of times you're getting a call from a complaint and they're making you feel, or they're directing the call or the traffic from dispatch, making a certain person out to be the suspect, when a lot of times that person is also the victim in events. And you get out and you try sorting things. A lot of times it's, you know, especially in domestic violence issues, is people feel like the first person who made the call is going to automatically make the other person the primary aggressor in the call. And it's up to us to try to determine who the primary aggressor is, because you know the law is written in Virginia. The code is written, "Thou shalt make an arrest." It is a circumstance where a law enforcement officer doesn't have discretion. You know, if you get into a situation and you can determine a primary aggressor and there's physical assault, somebody is going to jail. You don't have a choice.
Wow.
You know, I try to do something and pretend like it didn't happen. That makes me liable, my department liable, my sheriff liable for lawsuit, you know, and who cares about the money? But I leave and didn't do something, and 2 hours later it escalates into something else, and somebody does get truly injured or killed, you know. So it's, the code's a little bit different with that one, but I don't even remember where I was going with that. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. It's all right. No, because I mean, you said a lot of things in that. Number one, the salary, right? So for you is definitely purpose. What I was hearing was purpose over position. Because
Yes.
again, a lot of police officers are again faced with these traumatic, you know, events as you're describing, and people don't realize that they don't make a lot of money. When I just like the school teachers, right? Like, come on, like the math is wrong here. Like what is wrong with us? But you don't go into this profession thinking that, hey, I'm going to become a millionaire. No, you know, because most salaries, some districts are like $30,000, Andre, you know, like starting $40,000. So I just heard purpose. I mean, yeah, purpose over position. So I definitely love that. And then you explain even some of the codes, again, educating us, right? We don't know these things, but you're absolutely right, because I would imagine the person who's calling is a victim, you know, but you guys have to go and discern through all of this and figure out who was the aggressor, you know. So again, that's important for us to know, who don't walk in your shoes every day. So what this whole forum is about, Andre, again, next Monday, I'm going to be joined by different police officers, different districts. And I want to use this forum to educate our community. I want to use this forum to share the heart of police officer. So I'm so happy that you shared your heart, again, with your purpose over position. I'm happy that you shared, again, just the back-to-back calls and the stress that you guys are under every day, just raw conversations with you. I think this is what we need as a community to heal. Don't want this forum to be where we are attacking, police officers. So what I will ask you, my last question, with all of this tension going on between communities and police officers, what do you want the community to know? What do you wish we knew about police officers or your day-to-day? What do you want to say to the community?
That for everybody that I know, and I know I work in a great community for a great department, for a great sheriff. And I know everybody that I work with does it because they love people, because they care, because they want to make a difference. As you already pointed out, we've already discussed, they didn't do it because Campbell County starting them out at $34,000 a year was a great opportunity. We have BWXT right here in our area that will pay us $80,000 a year to come sit there and stare at a computer with the certifications that we have for their security team. And some guys go to do it. And a lot of guys, they get into this, they're in the academy when they're 20 years old. They're following their dreams, and they don't have a lot of life coping skills that an older gentleman like myself can come into it with, just the experience that I've had in the working world, raising a child, being married for so long, and what goes into being married, and my experience and time in the Marine Corps serving the country. But I'll tell you, even the young men that I know, they're doing it because they love people and they want to make a difference. In our community, whether it's a lower class citizen, a richer person, a younger person, an older person, a white person, a black person, an Asian person, a Hispanic person, when you first make contact, again, you can always feel how they think you want to treat them based on where or what they are in life. But I'm not making that contact because of what or where you are in life. I've been called there by somebody complaining about something. And like I said, at first you're just sifting through a whole lot of information, and several parties are trying to throw it at you from each side at the same time. And you're trying to catch what you need to know to make sense of the situation. And everybody is telling you from their perspective. It's funny because it always makes me think of when I was younger, I struggled with, the four books in the Bible speaking of Jesus's life, and trying to understand, okay, these differences are this, and this one's talking about this, because they're all talking about their perspective and where they were when Jesus was doing what he was doing. And it just always makes me think of that. Okay, I've got to understand this person saw it this way and felt it this way, and this person saw it this way and felt this way, and this is where they were at when the events were happening. I get off topic so much, I'm sorry, but what I want the community to know is I don't know anybody, and again, in every profession, I'm not trying to defend every single person that puts on a badge in the morning or in the evening. But every person that I know that I work with does this because they love people and they want to make a difference in the community that we live in. They're not trying to change the world nationally. They're trying to make a difference here. And the big enemy that we're fighting right now is methamphetamines, and a lot of times it feels like not our local government, but our state government is working against us in doing that and keeping that from the community. And, you should have somebody on your forum here. I know you're doing it with police officers, but the big thing now with the meth is have somebody on here who's lost their child to an addiction to methamphetamines.
Wow.
let them talk to the community and understand, okay, the cops are trying to do this because they're really trying to stop the meth problem that we have right now, because that's what's creating a lot of the larcenies and the violence that we're having in the community. But I'm telling you, we're doing this job. Everybody I know, myself personally, because we love the community, we want to make a difference, we love people. I do it because I serve God, and I feel like it's what God wants me to do, to serve him. I feel like it brings out all the best of my spiritual gifts. This is why I do it. And I don't know, when I pull a car over, 95% of the time, I got no idea who's in the front seat of that car when I pull them over,
Right.
what their age is, what their race is, what their gender is. I have no idea until I've got that car stopped and I'm walking up to the side. I got no idea if that person is going to be high, drunk. Well, sometimes you know if they're going to be drunk before you get up to the front of the door, because that's why you pull them over. The signs are there. But you know, I don't know who I'm going to be dealing with, whether they're 16 and this is their first law enforcement interaction, or they're 83 years old and maybe their daughter should have took their driver's license already because they're out here putting other people at risk.
In danger, right, right.
Putting themselves at risk. I'm not doing this because, you know, I want to mess with somebody who's out on the road today or because I'm bored. We're never bored. It
No, it
bothers me.
doesn't. No, you're not.
Oh, you're only doing that because you're bored. I promise you, we are busy. We don't got time to have lunch with our wives when we want to.
Right.
Because the second you order that food, a call for service is coming out and you're leaving your food behind and paying for it anyway. But we're here to help people, you know. And again, I'm not trying to defend every single person, because I know in every profession there's some real buttheads out there, and I've heard stories and I have seen the way some people react, and it doesn't matter if I just came from that call that ripped that heart out of my chest. 10-minute story guy here. I'm not bringing it to your call, or I shouldn't, right?
Right.
But a lot of times that's the excuse they made, you know, and it's hard. That's the hardest part, you know, is when you just come from some that pour you up inside into something where you see it might be working towards that, and you want to make that difference. And people don't want to hear you, when a lot of times that's our job, is to play that mediator, to play that kind of psychiatrist, that kind of spiritual leader, whatever, you know, that we're there for a couple minutes for. Because, you know, a lot of our calls that we even show up at are, you know, like verbal disputes, things like that. Laws haven't even been broken, but we've been called there. And our duty to the public and our due regard and our diligence is to have us show up for that call for service, no matter what, because the citizen called us to be there.
That's right. That's right.
But that's it. And I wish I wasn't working Monday. I wish I could be part of
I
your
wish
panel.
you weren't either, because I would love to have you, but people are going to hear your voice. And I just thank you for, again, being willing to be a part of this. I love your heart. I heard your heart through every response, authentic. So I thank you for joining when you did. I thank you for being a light. I thank you for even being an example. And I thank you for helping me to educate others regarding the work that you guys do. I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you for your service. And God's going to continue to use you mightily, Mr. Andre. And I'm excited about it.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here.
That's right. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, you have a blessed evening. If you ever need anything else or anything I can ever do, and I'll do my best to try to meet up with you.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right,
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
good evening.